Something there? Ha ha! Rejoice, comrades. Some random geek is lurking in the void. Hi, geek. Watch out for the tardigrades. Yay! Rejoice, comrades. Jim Speak is here. Hi, Jim. How are you? I am now subscribed to the Canary. I've been subscribed to the Canary on my phone for ages. They brought it up in Turn Left fucking last year at some point. So I've now subscribed to it on my laptop. Shall we? Oh God. Right. How you doing? Refreshment. Here we go. A sweeping new review funded by the government's disability unit. Yay! I was worried it might need pulled. There's a variety of reasons they have to do that. For me, when I was younger, it railroad tracks. In the end, didn't need them. And at that point, they'd already pulled fucking 7 teeth out of my fucking mouth. If it's an abscess, they numb the area of whatever to whatever part of the mouth that is. Then they go in underneath the gum and they break it. Then you take antibiotics for about 5 to 7 days. Ugh. I know that because it's happened to me about 6 times in my life. Getting an abscess sucks, man. Oh, in fact, one of my sister, she's been plagued with dental problems for fucking decades, the poor lass. She kept on getting abscess after abscess and stuff. Some people just get them for no fucking reason apparently. No. Well, one of the abscesses got so fucking bad so quickly, they ended up having to take out 2 of her teeth, ones right next to each other, because it had taken over 2 roots. Gah. That happened to her when she was 12. I usually just need a descale and polish and like get the crap from in between the teeth and clean my gums. Oh my god, I've still got this hooked up. I'll need to disconnect this from the laptop when I move on to videos in a minute. Intelligent design, get the fuck. Seriously? Intelligent is this thing right here? No. But the scientist, so. A sweeping new review funded by the government's disability unit has laid bare the entrenched inequalities, no shit, faced by disabled people in the UK labour market. Funny that. But in a bitter twist, it is the government's own DWP that is one of the most persistent drivers of discrimination against the very group it claims to support. They don't support us. They don't. Thank you. The report, titled Disabled People's Employment in the UK, a thematic review of the literature, synthesises over a decade's worth of academic research and grey literature spanning 2010 to 2021. Led by the University of Leeds and Disability Rights UK, it presents a comprehensive and damning picture of systemic exclusion and disadvantage. Yes. The review highlights staggering disparities between disabled and non-disabled people. In the final quarter of 2023, there were 10.21 million disabled people of working age in the UK, 16 to 64 essentially, making up 24% of the population. Only 5.53 million were in employment, yielding a disabled employment rate of 54.2% compared to 82% for non-disabled. The resulting employment gap of 27.8%, 27.8 percentage, has remained stubbornly persistent for years because lots of us can't fucking work. While these headline figures have marginally improved since 2023, the report argues that the narrowing gap often reflects increased declarations of disability rather than a meaningful shift in employer behaviour or accessibility. The thematic review from the Disability Unit identifies a litany of structural hurdles disabled people face throughout the employment journey. Recruitment processes are often inaccessible or overtly discriminatory. Correct. Many employers held implicit biases, assuming disabled candidates were less capable or more costly to accommodate. So, you're too thick, or fuck, what about my bottom line? And lots of disabled people get punished for that, by the way. Correct, yeah. They shouldn't. They're here to help us. Apparently not. One study cited found that applicants who disclosed a disability were 26% less likely to receive a positive employer response. Another revealed that only 27% of employers provided disability awareness training for their staff. Ugh. Once in work, disabled employees frequently encountered a lack of reasonable adjustments. Better keyboard, screen filters, it will be an ergonomic keyboard, better chair, better seating, things of that nature, preferential location for bathroom and fire exit, that sort of thing. Limited opportunities for progression, not getting a raise or not getting a promotion, delightful. And an organisational culture that undermined their well-being. Yeah, the piss taken out of us. The carceral welfare state, the DWP's role in discrimination. What the report does not explore, but is impossible to ignore, is the DWP's own role in sustaining this hostile environment. Yes. For over a decade, the department has presided over punitive welfare reforms that have disproportionately harmed disabled people, from the widely discredited work capability assessment. I've done 3 in my life, all from 2010 onwards. Rejoice, comrades! L. Ron Hubbard is here. Hi, L. Ron. They do indeed. From the widely discredited work capability assessment to the rollout of universal credit, the DWP has cultivated a culture of suspicion and surveillance. Yes. Careful what you say, Jim. Unless you're on a VPN. Yes, culture of suspicion and surveillance. Yeah. Since 2010, the DWP has cut over 30 billion in social security, much of it from disability benefits. I am living proof of this. According to Disability Rights UK, over 2.5 million sanctions were issued between 2010 and 2020. What the fuck? With disabled claimants disproportionately targeted. Yes. Oh, for fuck's sake. That might be classed as intimidation, Eldon. A 2023 investigation by Equality and Human Rights Commission found serious concerns about how the DWP treated disabled people, especially those with mental health conditions. Yes, still happening to this day. However, the most damning analyses have consistently come from the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability. That was the rapporteur, by the way. It found that successive UK governments had committed grave and systemic violations of disabled people's human rights. Yes. I would say go to the police. Mm. Or go to the next level up. Lawyer. Yet without irony, the Disability Unit report cites the very UNCRPD rules that the government breached to back up its report. Are these people fucking idiotic or incompetent? On 27th May last year, as detailed in Hansard. And I just spoke about the illegals. She's brought it up in the past. Well, all you need to do is get the excerpt, put it in an email and say, look, there you go. See if she can justify herself. They were calling you out. How are you using that to back? Oh, fucking, I don't know. Government promises versus a disabled reality. Moreover, the DWP funds back to work schemes that frequently funnel disabled people into insecure, low paid roles with minimal support or long term prospects. Shelf stacking. Nothing against it, but if they're putting a disabled person, someone like myself, on the shop floor, I'm going to kick up a stink. Oh God. Fucking idiotic. Where are we? Meanwhile, private contractors delivering disability employment services have come under fire for low success rates in prioritising targets over individual needs. I wonder who that's about. I can think of 3 of the bastards. The government's flagship pledge to reduce the disability employment gap has been repeated across successive administrations. Yes, it has. In 2017, then Prime Minister, the Maybot, promised to get 1 million more disabled people into work by 2027. Don't make me laugh, Theresa. It goes against their own legislation, Elron. They're not meant to do that. If you've taken them all the way to like tribunal and it's been overturned, they're meant to leave you. They're not meant to put you successively through the ringer like that. Because I went to the tribunal twice, but there were 2 different benefits. The second time was for my PIP when the coalition were in government. I am a poor tortured backside. That's better. Get 1 million of us into work by 2027. Oh, that's idiotic. Yeah. Yet critics argue that such goals are meaningless when the root causes of exclusion remain unaddressed. Correct. And when the DWP's own policies contradict its rhetoric. Case in point, Elron Hubbard. For example, the review highlights how disabled people are often blamed for their unemployment. You're blaming us for something that's completely out of our control. What reality are these people living in? With policymakers framing the issue as one of individual deficit. You what now? Rather than systemic bias, then government initiatives like Disability Confident, not heard of that one, are voluntary and largely unenforced, leaving them as a box-ticking exercise. My second one that I went all the way to the tribunal for most of it. The first three, which were in Cadogan House. Rejoice, comrades! Linton has arrived. Hi, Linton. Just I nearly called you Reza there. Sorry. Linton is a cool name and a cool individual. We are not the problem. Hell yeah. Based. The DWP is. Hella based. Overall, this review confirms what disability people have been saying for years, decades. The barriers are not in their bodies, but in society and a state that refuses to accommodate them. Ding, 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 ding. The DWP cannot continue to act as both support service and enforcer without perpetrating the very discrimination it claims to fix. The report calls for a fundamental reimagining, funny word, of how labour market engages with disability. Barely. This includes mandatory accessibility standards and greater enforcement of equality laws. Oh, give me a second. What? Thank you. Oh, something's dropped on Patreon. New one for Leisure. Fucking bring it. Stream manager. Oh my god, 6 people. Go to chat. Work, goddamn you. Rejoice, comrades. Dead Jester is here. Correct, Jim. Oh yeah, you don't like talking about death. I don't know why. Katie Marshall, 4340. Ah! Hydrate from Shanna. Are they? Weird. Diluting lemon, everyone. See? Getting prepared in advance. It works. Go there. I'll start that bit again. Look out for my coverage next year of Holyrood to see how the greens up here do. Watch this space. Oh, the report calls for a fundamental reimagining of how labour market engages with disability. This includes rejoice, comrades. John the Brazen is here. Hi, John. This includes mandatory accessibility standards and greater enforcement of equality laws. However, it must also include reforms to DWP processes. That are currently punitive and traumatic. Talk to people like me. Until the DWP ends its hostile approach to disabled claimants, any research, no matter how comprehensive, risks becoming a fig leaf for ongoing injustice. Right, what I have to do now. Right, give me a minute. Oh. Nah. Thank you, Canary. Give me a minute, comrade. Sound. Go to the speaker. I'll be losing your chat off my phone, so I can use it to listen to the videos I'm choosing. I'll still be here. Well, that is weird, hearing myself. Right. They are, Jim, aren't they? Yeah, I have noticed that, Linton. Oh well. Lots of lovely people in chat. I am loving this. Over to YouTube. Oi! Stop with the frame drops. Stop it. Oh, is that what it's about? I forgot I was watching that earlier. Let us, no, in fact, let's see what's in the news. Yeah. Show more. Oh. Oh my god. I was wondering. Oh, I'm on a VPN, by the way, now. Shall we cover this one, comrades? Should be fun. Okay. Okay. Nevada. Let's see, there we go. Oh, fucking hell. I have somehow turned off my track. Oh god, I had to do a full update. That's why the trackpad's off. Right. Yeah. Ooh.
On Friday, the new Online Safety Act came into force in the UK. Introduced by the Tories in 2023, the bill, as it was then, brings in compulsory age verification checks for online content that the government believes could be harmful to children. That includes pornography of all kinds, as well as material that relates to self-harm, eating disorders,
Yes, sir.
or suicide.
Nice one.
But one consequence of the Act is that content that almost certainly shouldn't have been censored has been. Earlier this year, Tory MP Katie Lamb made a speech in Parliament about child sexual exploitation. In it, she gave some graphic details of the ordeals young girls had undergone. But footage of that speech was briefly disappeared from X after the Act came into force. The Wikimedia Foundation, the non-profit that operates Wikipedia, is challenging the law, arguing that regulations endanger Wikipedia and the global volunteer contributors who create the site's pages, often anonymously. And also last week,
The other thing with the online safety bill is this. VPN. That's why you'll see lots of Dutch things in my YouTube now. There's only 4 free in the world, and one of them is across the Atlantic. No thanks.
footage of protesters being arrested by police outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Leeds also appeared to be blocked on X. Now, look,
Well, yeah.
I think when it comes to X, given Elon Musk's previous political statements, it wouldn't be at all surprising to find that the platform was overzealously applying the law in order to flame anti-government sentiment amongst its users. But if that's true, it also just shows how susceptible the law is to manipulation by big tech firms. Now, in response to the law, Brits have been downloading VPNs in massive numbers. That allows them to bypass UK verification checks by making it appear that they're accessing sites from outside the UK. 5 VPNs are amongst the top 10 apps being downloaded from the Apple Store in the UK right now. But according to one caller to LBC, the use of VPNs can bring their own privacy concerns.
What will happen is scenarios previously where these children were visiting things in the open and could be tracked are now being obfuscated through things like VPNs and other programs such as this that will be offered by states such as China, Russia, and our children will be routed through these because the UK government doesn't control the internet. It controls some of the internet, but it's a worldwide platform. They are putting all of their unencrypted information through those pipelines. That could be passwords, usernames, information about their personal life, alcoholism, pornography, all these kinds of things that could be used to control them and manipulate them. These are all being routed through actors who do not have our state interest at heart. I cannot believe this got through the intelligence services oversight.
I mean, I'm not wanting to offend you. I can't believe you're right, because it did.
I can't really believe what you're telling me, because surely the state would just protect us at every turn. It's really hard for me to believe that the state wouldn't protect us or might make an error that made things harder for us. I mean, look, I know James O'Brien laughed at the end there. I think he was kind of speaking tongue-in-cheek, but it is a sort of classic kind of liberal sentiment that, it can't happen to us. We're a really advanced and progressive democracy, a liberal democracy.
That's the problem.
Now, a large factor behind the introduction of the bill by the Tories was the tragic death of London teenager Molly Russell. The 14-year-old took her life after being exposed to a stream of dark, depressing content on Pinterest and Instagram, with an inquest later ruling that she ended her life while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. Many online platforms have since said they've developed online tools to limit access to harmful material. But, come on. If you're like me, someone who uses a lot of those platforms that algorithmically select content, you'll know that just a few clicks out of curiosity can still lead you to being suddenly flooded with waves of very bleak material or otherwise unwanted material. And I think that there's also no doubt that pornography is having an insidious effect on young boys and therefore on young girls too. Ofcom recently found that 8% of children aged 8 to 14 had visited an online pornography site or app over a month-long period. So look, it isn't like there aren't problems to be solved here when it comes to the protection of young people. The question is whether this bill is the right tool for the job. Earlier today, I spoke to Dr. Kate Sim. She specialises in children's online protection. She is also the Programme Director of Children's Online Safety and Privacy Research, or COPSA, at the University of Western Australia. And I began by asking her whether trading adult users' privacy for online child safety was worth it.
Yeah, so the question, and I think the common narrative when it comes to this act, the Online Safety Act, is that it's a fight between children's safety versus adults' privacy. And I really take issue with that. And I'm coming at it as somebody who has been researching the intersection of sexual violence.
I don't know where I got this one from, sorry. Oh no, I watched it on someone's stream that they found on, it was a Twitter thread or something, that they were looking to ban VPNs. Kyle denied it when he was on breakfast. Trust him if you want to. Depends how many of us actually write in, like email or actually write a letter. If you can, I can't really write that well. Fingers be gubbed. But email, just mass email them. That might work. Like just send an email to your MP saying, what the fuck are you playing at? Have you not noticed? Downloads of VPNs have went through the fucking roof. Obviously there's people who won't know how or won't do it because I'm no bothered. Doesn't affect me or what I do. Yes, it does. Yeah, someone being fucking idiotic on Twitter. Kevstream. I noticed it on Kevstream a couple of nights ago, something like that. Yeah, don't be daft. Legally, they can't ban a VPN. Most of their servers offshore. They're not in the UK. Plus, the cloud exists, and we don't own that. We access it. We pay for storage and other uses of the cloud, but we don't control it. We don't set the legislation for cloud storage or anything. Like, I've got free cloud storage with my Android, with my Google account essentially, and with my Microsoft one for my laptop. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, they have to parent. Like my younger sister, she monitors what the boys watch. I've got two nephews, by the way. She monitors what they do, and between her and her partner, the pair of them make sure that they're not watching or downloading anything sus. Plus, they're quite savvy. The major problem that she has is trying to get the youngest one off Steam or his console. Do your homework first. So he's more interested in gaming. He's not a gamer per se like the fucking idiots from back in the day. Christ, when that was all ongoing, that he was a baby, literally a small baby, when Gamergate happened.
Technology for over a decade, and I have 15 years of experience in working in sexual violence prevention and response, particularly involving young people on the front lines and in advocacy. And I now direct a research program called COSPER on children's online safety and privacy, where I investigate kind of political economy of this growing space of children's online safety. And actually, from the standpoint of child safety, this act fundamentally misdiagnoses what is harmful about online harms. So it's not just adult privacy that's being compromised through this act, it's also young people's privacy and young people's safety. It really is a policy of digital abstinence.
So, in what ways does it compromise children's and young people's privacy?
Yeah, so what we are seeing, and it's been several days since this act has been implemented, is the kind of disparate effects of its implementation. So actually, the kind of harmful content that the act defines, and it defines it into two camps: the primary priority content and the priority content. The primary priority content involves things like explicit pornography, content that encourages, promotes, or provides instructions on things like self-harm, eating disorder, and suicide. And for priority content, it includes bullying, abusive, and hateful content, things that depict serious violence and injury, and so on. And what we are seeing is that a lot of this is being applied to content actually involving things like what's happening in Palestine, and the content that it claims to be preventing from young people's access. And I actually just did a search before hopping on this interview on Reddit. So threads like Israel Exposed is blocked, but threads about sexualizing young schoolgirls, threads about pickup artists are still accessible. So very much the vague language of this act allows for this kind of selective interpretation that isn't even in the spirit of its stated intent.
And what about the impacts on adult privacy? So we've seen in the UK that there's been a massive upswing in the download of VPNs in order to allow adults to browse sites by declaring that they're in another geographic location and therefore bypassing the law. Does that create any privacy issues for those users?
We're absolutely seeing a skyrocketing of VPNs being downloaded. Proton VPN, for example, in the past several days have skyrocketed. And I think one of the unintended consequences as a result is that this is going to funnel users, both young people and old people, to more sites that have less safeguards that are available. You know, if you can't be accessing your community or information from the Reddits and these, bigger companies, albeit with all their problems, they do have safeguards because they're better resourced. But instead, a lot of people are going to be flocking to smaller and less guarded sites.
So what do you think that the upshot of this act is going to be? So if it's not going to protect children and it's not, and in fact it's only going to infringe on their privacy while also infringing on the privacy of adults, it doesn't seem in your view that there's any beneficiary to this act.
From the child protection sector, the argument is that this regulation is going to be protecting.
When I was at uni 21 years ago, I had privacy and data protection as well, but because for most of my studies I was in the library, the Andersonian, the library for Strathclyde. If lots of other countries follow suit, yeah, there's no fucking point in this sort of online legislation, yeah. Like I said, there's only 4 free ones that I could connect to through Proton. Netherlands, States, Japan, I forgot, Poland. So that's the 4. So 2 here in Europe, 1 in fucking Far East and America. Rejoice, comrades! The stream's resident philosopher is here. Hi, Scribby. We are discussing the Online Safety Act. I have a VPN on my laptop now, I don't have one on my phone yet. Just to see where the disconnect is in the YouTube feed. There might be, but shouldn't really bother the stuff that I stream about. Scribba dude. Oh, you fucking idiot.
Children, the universal children, from harmful content. But harmful content is really vaguely defined in a way that is clearly selectively being imposed on political dissent. And child safety in the interest of what? Child safety is also very poorly defined. So I think from both the standpoint of best interests of children and also from the standpoint of civil liberties for adults, this act doesn't really do much to protect either. And in fact, I would actually argue that it endangers all users, both young and old, because it bolsters the surveillance business model, the predatory business model that the tech industry has been relying on, which is to collect more information about us. In order for age verification to work, it implements a number of technologies, a lot of sensitive information, a lot of biometric information about us, behavioral data about us. So now platforms have even more treasure trove of data to collect and quantify and commercialize and monetize that in order to estimate about how old we are and determine what kind of digital experience that we're going to have. So this actually doesn't curb the powers of the tech industry. It actually gives them more. And it's also a pretext for the government to expand their surveillance.
I mean, it's interesting what you say there about the sort of surveillance structure, because one of the points that people make is that, you know, small sites which may show some material which is deemed now to be unsafe for young people don't have the resources to put in place the identification or the verification infrastructure that's required. Whereas larger, big tech sites, which are already harvesting our data, now suddenly, you know, it's easy for them. They can afford to put those things in place. And I guess that's where you're suggesting things can really go wrong for users of the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, actually both the small sites and big tech companies actually end up being losers as a result of this act, because big tech companies now they have to account for, you know, extra costs of working with third-party vendors that specialize in age verification, which is going to create more friction on user experience, which is not ideal for platform companies. And small sites that, you know, have a limited user base are also now going to have to invest additional resources or additional cost to be able to execute age verification. And, you know, for the rationale behind age verification is that by doing it, we're going to create a seamless experience where young people are protected and shielded from harmful content. But actually, what this act does and age verification does is by putting the onus of authentication on the end users. So we all know that we have consent fatigue from things like having to click through the cookies as a result of something like the GDPR. And, you know, users are always complaining about how annoying it is when you visit a new website. If you're annoyed by that, it's only going to get worse, because now you have to jump through additional hoops to be able to access basic information about whether it's the news about what's happening or sexual health information or reproductive health information.
And what about political dissent? Do you see the act having an impact on, you know, citizens of the UK, whatever their political beliefs, whether they're on the right or the left or somewhere in between, trying to organise against issues, the government, for example, that they disagree with?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, quote unquote, harmful content, according to this act, is defined really poorly. And it includes things like pro-terror material, which is extremely poorly defined. So now that gives the government a pretext to apply it selectively. And we are seeing it being applied already. I believe on the day of the act, there was a protest in Seacroft, Leeds, that X had prevented access to. And we know from, you know, users sharing it that Reddit thread Israel Exposed has been restricted to to users. So we're already seeing this kind of selective application of when the act kicks in.
But presumably you don't disagree with the idea that children accessing pornography, for example, or suicide promotion sites is something that we maybe should protect them from. I mean, just to give you a personal example, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I don't think she's accessing sites. I mean, I can't say for sure. I'm pretty sure she's not. But I do know that boys around her are. And I've been witness myself to a kind of level of sexual harassment that she's experienced from other 13 and 14-year-old boys who are clearly either getting it themselves via pornography or it's being communicated via access to those kinds of sites. So, it has an impact on people other than the people who are viewing that material. So, I mean, what do you say to someone like me, for example, who is concerned about young boys especially accessing hardcore, violent, pornographic material?
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I share deep concerns, and absolutely something has to be done about the way that young people are taken advantage of, again, by the predatory businesses of the tech industry. But the first question I would ask is how and why are young people being exposed to or accessing content like that? And when we start asking the questions about the complexity of young people, what we find is that they might be curious about sex because nobody around them is talking about it. Or they are truly being exposed, and often being exposed in websites that are already, have a higher threshold of harmful content. So in the first case, where young people are genuinely curious, to me, that's a symptom of something that we have collectively as adults failed to do. It means that they are not having that conversation with their parents. It means that they are not having that conversation in their school system. And that's no surprise, because under the austerity, we're seeing social services being cut left and right. Parent capacity is being reduced. Schools are not providing comprehensive sex education, especially in light of ongoing war on trans youth. So, that is a symptom of a larger problem of how we are failing young people. And second, if we take that route of how are young people being exposed to harmful content, then we look at the digital ecosystem, and we have to contend with the fact that this is an advertising ecosystem. For example, in the UK Gambling Commission in the past year, they found that young people, about 64% of them are exposed to sports gambling sites pretty regularly. So we see something like these addictive behaviors and harmful content, sensationalist content that's either as a result of the attention economy that we have, or again, these advertisers, being able to share content without any kind of checks and balances to young people. And decades of research have shown that young people should not be exposed to targeted advertising. They should not be subject to algorithmic profiling. And yet these, systemic interventions are the things that I would love to see the Online Safety Act tackle, but instead they're interested in chasing the symptoms. If we remove the symptoms, the root causes still remain the same, which is the advertising, the surveillance business model. And this act doesn't do anything to actually address that.
That was Kate Sim of Children's Online Safety and Privacy Research speaking to me earlier today. And I mean, I tend to think that legislation is such a blunt tool. I mean, drugs are illegal, but kids still take them. Kids who want to find pornography are going to find pornography. Kids who want to find other harmful sites are going to find other harmful sites. And the things to tackle are the desires to do those things, not using legislation to sort of make yourself feel safe about it when you're not actually at all. Parents who suddenly think their kids won't be able to access websites are going to be incredibly shocked when they still manage to do so, because they'll have thought, oh, well, I've now sort of, the government has seconded control for me and responsibility from me. And so, I don't need to worry so much. Now, the Online Safety Act has also created a political stir. On Monday, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage vowed to repeal Britain's, quote, dystopian Online Safety Act, saying its suppression of free speech would make Xi Jinping blush. Speaking online, Farage said this: "Millions of people have noticed what they're getting on their feeds is different to what it was just last week. It begins to look as though state suppression of genuine free speech may be upon us already." Now, the government's Secretary for Science and Technology, Peter Kyle, has responded, saying this:
I see that Nigel Farage is already saying that he's going to overturn these laws. So, we have people out there who are extreme pornographers, peddling hate, peddling violence. Nigel Farage is on their side. Make no mistake about it, if people like Jimmy Savile were alive today, he'd be perpetrating his crimes online. And Nigel Farage is saying that he's on their side.
I'm sorry.
Not the side of children who are...
I'm going to ask you to clarify. Do you honestly think to say Nigel
Jim.
Farage is on Jimmy Savile's side?
When it comes to online activity, we have seen unfettered access of adults to children via social media. When we put in the age verification, it stops strange adults getting in touch with children. So make no mistake.
This is a major leap. You're going to stick to the fact that you said that Nigel Farage is on Jimmy Savile's side.
Nigel Farage is on the side of turning the clock back to the time when strange adults, strangers, can get in touch via messaging apps with children. We have now asked them age verify the age in which people can have access to online content so we can protect children from unwanted, dangerous content and also those messaging services where people can get access directly to it. Nigel Farage wants to turn the clock right back when all of that, I have absolutely no doubt about it. People are perpetrating more crime online, more danger to children online, and Nigel Farage has said he wants to overturn every single one of the laws that keeps children safe in our country.
Now, Peter Kyle repeated those comments on pretty much every TV show he turned up on, comparing Nigel Farage in some way to Jimmy Savile and also to the defender of hardcore pornographers. And obviously, Kyle was just really thrilled by how clever he thought those comments were. But this is how Nigel Farage described that attack.
Absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. To compare anybody's actions with the vile Jimmy Savile is completely below the belt. Yes, there's to and fro in politics. This was appalling. All I asked for was an apology, and he simply doubled down. And it's a disgrace. And I stand absolutely by what I've said, that children are not being protected. They're signing up for VPNs where they can access content that is even worse than they could have done before this instrument came in. And also, people in glass houses, perhaps he should remember that his own leader, Keir Starmer, had to apologise for not prosecuting Jimmy Savile.
Now, it's pretty unusual for me to find myself on the side of Nigel Farage. I am suspicious that he's motivated by children's interests when he wants to repeal the Online Safety Act. But I think he's right. As I said earlier, I don't think this will actually protect children at all, particularly. But Kieran, just on the politics of this, was that comparison made by Peter Kyle a political own goal?
Just a short reflection from me on this one, Stephen. I think that kind of political hyperbole works a lot better when the person delivering it doesn't sound like somebody auditioning for Sixth Form Debate Society or something. And it's particularly painful listening to Peter Kyle. And I think it obviously backfires or hasn't landed. Farage, Trump, their ilk know how to deliver that kind of hyperbole very, very well. Peter Kyle, less so. I dare say probably most of the Labour front bench, much, much less so. And maybe that says something about the kinds of audiences that they corral as well. Beyond that, I think politically, just one other brief observation, which is of interest, and it's kind of half-formed, it's half-baked for me. But it is interesting that Nigel Farage, has kind of taken up the political space of the Conservative Party. And you could argue some, obviously, aspects of Labour as well. But, he is a man of the right, right? And the political space that he is very rapidly, it seems, moving into is the space typically occupied by the right in this country. And of course, historically, you would expect the kind of the preeminent figure on the British political right to be very much on the side of the sort of moral panic, anti-pornography, moral panic kind of thing, and the kind of side of things. We've got a long tradition of that in this country. Mary Whitehouse, campaigner in the 1970s against pornography and television. She considered it all to be the work of the devil. There's a long, rich tradition in this country of kind of curtain-twitching social conservatism that sees the devil under every single bedstead and thinks that there's that every new attitude in society is worthy of a moral panic. And actually, I think it is interesting. And I said it's half-formed because I don't exactly know what it means. People listening, viewing might have a view, might not. I don't know what it means that the kind of preeminent figure on the British right at the moment is actually taking the more kind of libertarian stance on it all, and not the kind of traditional social conservative position on it.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point about libertarianism and Farage because, you know, in the absence of a kind of libertarian left party, Farage has also been able to claim the kind of libertarianism, you know, kind of like quest for freedom that is common to a lot of people who don't want to be inhibited by the state, who don't want the state to be controlling their social and their communal activities. Many of them are on the left. And or maybe they don't have a political home necessarily, but they do believe in a sort of freedom. And Farage has managed to capture quite a lot of them because there hasn't been an answer on the left, which also engages in a kind of libertarianism, a kind of suspicion of corporations and the state and what they can do when they join together, which makes me all the more hopeful for the New Left Party. I think there's fertile ground for them to claim on this very topic of a kind of libertarian approach to the state.
Thank you, Stephen Medlin. That was good. Right, no, this is annoying the shit out of me. Give me a second, comrades. Haha! Victory! I've turned it back on. Nice one. Right. Subscriptions. Oh, that's an hour long. Sean's the best one and it's over 2 hours fucking long. Oh god, the interviews. Visit channel. Okay, everyone. Oh, you're still here. Jim, can you do a poll? Or will I just do them in order? Fuck it. Do. The deputy leader. If you need the names, I can read them out if you like. Unless you know all their names. I've already watched Frank Adlington Stringer and Annie Townsend on my own. Christ, they came out nearly a week ago. Holy fuck. Yeah, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. I'll go and find it here. Subscriptions. Thanks, John. Manage. Scott Office slow. Do. Turn left, please. Videos. Oh God, the Zach and Ellie debate. I'm separate from this. I've already went through the one up here for everyone, and like co-chairs and things like that. Like ordinary members, you had to be nominated. I think it's going to be between Frank and Mothan as well, John. I'd like it to be Frank. He was quite good. He does have that good hair. Right, we'll just start from the beginning. Oh, by the way, Political, it's not Cog. Political, or Callum, does these interviews. I like Political. He'd be awesome. I keep on meaning to go and check his TikToks out. Callum Scott. Are you, John? Oh, is that his full name? I didn't know that. God damn it, a cheer. Yeah. Oh, overactive ears. You know what the function of earwax is, don't you? Same as what up there does and what in here does. Okay, Frank.
In August, members of the Green Party of England and Wales will vote on a number of available positions within the party, including a new leadership team. I recently sat down with Frank Adlington Stringer to chat about his campaign for the deputy leadership position.
Yeah,
this is what he had to say. Welcome, Frank. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Callum. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm not so bad. I'm plodding on. So, just before we get started, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm a district councillor in North East Derbyshire. I'm 27 years old, and I run for Mayor of the East Midlands
I suppose we'll
last
find
year. I've been a general election candidate for the Green Party and also a campaign manager since I think my first job was in 2021, and I've worked on campaigns in Bristol, in London, in the West Midlands, and so I often joke that I've done both sides of it. I've been the Tony Blair and the Alistair Campbell.
Yeah. Brilliant. And that was quite a successful mayoral election for you. I mean, you came third, but I think you had 50,666 votes, which equated to 11.3% of the vote share, according to my notes here, which is pretty impressive. I mean, how do you think that went? Obviously, you didn't win the election, but do you see that as a success?
I mean, it was one of the best mayoral results in the country for the Greens. It's higher than what Bristol just managed to achieve in their West of England mayoral election. They've got a better percentage than they did in London and Manchester. And that was coming from a place of never having contested successfully a regional election here in the East Midlands. We don't have a member of Parliament elected. We've never done a campaign larger than a county council division. So for us, it was enormous.
I will be back. I will take these off. 1 minute, please. I do be back. That's better. Boom.
Success, particularly given that we came from a place of being very, very unorganised in that election campaign. Our regional party wasn't planning on standing for election, given the enormous costs. It's about £10,000 just to get your name on the ballot paper and be included in the booklet and all of those things. And just myself and literally 3 volunteers decided, let's give it a go. And being able to beat Reform, which was our goal in that election, given that at that time, the only region in the whole country with a Reform MP was the East Midlands, and it was Lee Anderson. And so we really wanted to make the point that hope can beat hate, and that we as the Greens can actually put up a strong fight against Reform. And being able to do that and edge them out and get into 3rd place was just incredible. And in some parts of the East Midlands, I think in Chesterfield, for example, we were only a few hundred votes short of 2nd place in the Conservatives. So it just shows what can be done if you do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, of course, and we'll get on to some of the big questions in a moment. But just for people watching and for myself, tell us something about you that we might not know. Put the Green Party to one side for a moment. Just Frank, tell us something about you as a person.
So I'm a creative person. This picture behind me, which you can't quite see, was my final A-level project.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, I love to draw. And during lockdown, I had a little business where I used to make clay faces of people and their dogs.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, I'm a creative person at heart. And had the world not needed, radical reform, then I probably wouldn't be here. And yeah, so I love to use my hands to make things, and baking is another part of that. I really love to bake bread. So there you go.
Wow. Ooh. Amazing. No, I've noticed there seems to be a pattern. I've noticed between a number of the other candidates, but also just generally across politics, there seems to be a lot of creatives. My background's in theatre and performance, so that I'm an actor by trade, and I think I've noticed a lot of creative people that have turned to politics.
I've come to the conclusion as well myself that sort of politics is one of the most creative things that we can do, because it's actually imagining something that doesn't yet exist and trying to create that future. And I think that there's something really quite, I don't know, I enjoy that process of problem solving.
I like that. And there's a storytelling element of it as well, isn't there, with, understanding people's lives and how everyone's lives are different and how they're affected by the wider political landscape. Cool. So, cards on the table for you and everyone watching. I am a member of the Green Party. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to vote in the deputy leadership elections. So, as a member of the party with a vote, why should I vote for you to be deputy leader?
So it's a massive moment for our party right now. We are at our most successful that we've ever been in terms of having our greatest number of members of parliament. We've got over 800 councillors across the country. We're running councils. And I think that this moment right now is really, really crucial in terms of being able to take that success to the next level. And this is something that's been on my mind for a long, long time. And after the mayoral election, people were coming up to me and suggesting that perhaps I should consider standing for deputy leader. And I kind of wondered what that really meant. And it's something that was in the back of my mind. And then the county council elections just happened this May. And here in Wingerworth, where I'm already a district councillor, we put together the best campaign we've ever done. We had Natalie Bennett and Jenny Jones coming to visit us. We had Greens Organise involved. We had 15, 20 people coming to our action days each weekend. We delivered the perfect campaign, the target to win campaign that we as the Greens do. And in that election, we fell short and lost to Reform, who...
Can Green Party members in chat, please, give me a brief description? I recognise the 2 names and stuff, but a brief description of what these 2 ladies are like. Natalie Bennett, and I do believe that Jenny Jones is in the other place. Before I joined the Scottish Greens, the only one that I really knew about was Caroline. God, what was that t-shirt she wore? No, I will expand the size of the chat box. I know just I don't know much about Natalie Bennett or Jenny Jones.
Didn't have a local candidate, never knocked a door. And that was the moment where I sat there and thought,
Thank you, John.
If we don't do something nationally, all of our hard work and effort is going to be wasted. We're going to miss this opportunity and we're going to be brushed to the side, swept away in a tidal wave, and that can't happen. And so I guess for me, there's been a real moment of realizing, actually, being a canary in the coal mine in some ways, of seeing what reform, just having this national presence, what Nigel Farage can do,
very much appreciated.
charisma he's got, the way he can speak to people and cut through in the media is so effective. And if we can couple that
Thanks,
social media, that national media cut through with our elections expertise that we've got, then we can really be a massive force on the left. And so for me, coming from a place of having worked as a campaign manager, having that elections expertise, having elected Greens for the first time ever in an area that's never had a Green councillor, all helping to get Greens into opposition for the first time onto councils, even helping prepare constituencies for general election campaigns that are coming up, working with big Green teams. I feel like I've got that range of knowledge and experience on messaging and comms that I can bring to the party, understanding how election strategy works, but then also it's a social media success, right? And I don't know how, during the mayoral campaign, I kind of just gave it a go. I was like, I'm just going to try this and see if it works. And it had huge success. Having more followers now on Instagram, TikTok than some of our members of parliament, to me, still kind of like blows my mind a little bit how I can do that. And I just think having this big social media audience, there's obviously something that's working there, in being able just to talk to people authentically in a common sense way, in a way that people want to engage with. That can make the difference. And so if we can just get our polling numbers up by a few percentage points, rising tides lift all boats. And if we can do that nationally, then we can help Greens get elected across the country. And ultimately that needs to be our goal, right? So for me, it's about helping the party take on this next chapter.
Well, you've mentioned a number.
I don't know if you've noticed that if you're subbed, there's a new emote. Feel free to use it. A lovely, lovely comrade of mine's made them for me. One, I'm still trying to figure out how to get the other one shrunk down on the laptop so I can put it in. I will figure it out. Don't you worry, because the other one is fucking based.
Of things there that I would like to ask you about, but firstly, you mentioned Target to Win. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, Target to Win is essentially the Green Party's strategy in elections for winning elections, in a nutshell. And there are many council seats up and down the country. We've got over 850, as you mentioned. We've obviously got now 4 MPs, which is it's essentially 4 times more than what we had. And there are many people within the Green Party that will say Target to Win is the only way to do it. We need to follow it to the book, and if we follow it to the book, we will win, and we can prove that because of the success that we've had before. Do you agree with that? And if not, would you scrap Target to Win altogether and replace it with something else, or would you use it in conjunction with other ideas and other campaign methods?
Good question.
I think Target to Win absolutely works, and that it's the key to how we've got the success that we've got to date. And I don't think that we should take the risk of throwing something in the bin in a political moment which is built on, politics has changed, but it's changed because reform are in this very populist moment. Mm-hmm. And that can fall down as quickly as it built itself up. And so what I think we have to do is adapt. And so we've got to really maintain our levels of campaigning, our groundwork, engaging with our communities. That's vital to success. I wouldn't want to, as a councillor myself, be elected in any other way than being the most engaging, hardworking person in my community. I think that's what people deserve. And so I think we need to maintain that level of campaigning. What we can do, though, is make that so much easier for people on the ground, the people delivering our newsletters, the people knocking doors, people putting together these campaigns. We can make it so much easier if we have a national strategy which actually complements Target to Win.
And what should that national strategy be?
That's got to be cutting through in the media. It's got to have messaging that works. I think Real Hope, Real Change was great during the general election, but there isn't really, I think, in the party at the moment, a set of messages which people can immediately identify us with. I think that taxing the wealthy is sort of cutting through. I think that people know us as obviously being green and caring about climate change. But beyond that, what we actually stand for, I think, is very, very limited. And so I think having a real clear set of messages about what we are as a party, and being able to communicate that across the country, not having fear that what we say in one constituency might upset another one, but being a really national party that speaks to people. And I think that the wealth tax is a really interesting thing to talk about, because there's been a poll, a YouGov poll that came out this week, that said that over 60% of Conservative voters, over 50% of Reform voters back a wealth tax.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Working people want the burden to be on the richest in society and not on them. And yet they're voting for parties which they think are going to protect them. And obviously those parties that they're voting for aren't introducing a wealth tax. We need to make sure that we are the party people see as being for working people, and currently we're not. And so I think that we've got a lot of work to do there. But if we can really get ourselves, like I said at the start of this discussion this morning, I shouldn't have more followers on social media than some of our MPs. We should be really well known, and we should be bold, and we should be out there and do things differently.
And in your, I mean, you've alluded to it just there, but in your campaign statement on the Green Party website, you say that you believe that the Green Party wins by staying true to our principles. You have touched on some of them already, but in sort of a quick roundup in a nutshell, what are those principles, and what do Green Party principles mean to you?
Yeah, for me, the Green Party is an eco-socialist movement, and that means caring about people and planet at the same time, and making the place where we live, this world, fairer, happier and healthier for everyone. And I think that that is the thing that unites us. Now, obviously, the party's got lots of different thinking in it at the moment, and leadership elections are like no other to bring that out and to have good, healthy debate. And I think that we really have to remember what it is that unites us, what the things are that we want, our common goals, and recognising that we don't just share that within the party, but actually the vast majority of people in this country, in this world, believe those same things as well. They just want to have a place for their children that is fair and equitable, and that everyone can be heard.
So last year, you were accused by the local Conservative Party chairman of being anti-Semitic and not fit to represent the Green Party. And the party chairman in question actually called for you to be removed as a candidate for public office. The Green Party obviously dismissed that and seemed to come to your defence. And I believe that this was in relation to comments that you'd made in a video posted online regarding the ongoing genocide in Palestine. If elected as deputy leader, you will be under more scrutiny from the media and political opponents than you have ever been before. You've already experienced quite a lot of media scrutiny, but that will increase significantly. Can you handle it?
I can handle it, and I think going through the mayoral election prepared me for that massively. The levels really were very, very different in terms of media access. And like you say, the Conservatives in the last local elections tried to get me suspended from the party for absolutely ridiculous claims. And their whole argument in that complaint wasn't actually that they were saying I was anti-Semitic, but I contributed to an anti-Semitic feeling by playing music to the video. That was part of their complaint. The whole thing is just fabricated, right? And it's trying to undermine people
Fucking
all the time
Egypt.
and trying to find really frivolous claims just because they're desperate. And so, yeah, this is going to happen, and more of it is going to happen. As a party, we need to get ready for it. I don't think we're perhaps in the place where we've always had that much media attention. It's something we're having to learn. I'm working on a project at the moment which I cannot tell you anything about at all. I really wish I could.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, it's with a major broadcaster, and I've been working with them for a couple of weeks, and a large part of that is inviting them into my world, into my home, and that's something as a politician, if I dare call myself that, I think is actually really important. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the reason why I've been able to cut through and get this social media success is because I'm a normal human being that's happy to talk about my personal life, happy to talk about how Brexit has impacted my personal relationship, being across, border restrictions, how, I talk about my dad and his disability, I talk about my mum and her small business, I talk about these things. And I think that whilst it does open up the door to media scrutiny, it is actually the only way to get people to realise that they can connect with you.
With increased media scrutiny, can sometimes come an unnecessary distraction. So how will you make sure that you prevent it from becoming a distraction and actually, don't prevent it from you being able to focus on the things that you need to focus on as deputy leader?
There's a lot of noise out there, right? And there's a lot of media spin and headlines, and that's going to exist always, unfortunately. I feel I've got a very clean track record, and that's not going to be too much of a problem. I don't think there are any skeletons in the closet, so I'm quite happy with being able to represent the party and do that well. But I want to be leading the narrative, right? I want to be talking about things that are important to the Green Party. I don't want to be contributing to background noise or into getting into petty arguments or fights or distracting from what the party's image is. This, for me, is about being deputy leader of the party, to give to the party, to build the party. It's not about me. It's not about raising my profile. It's not about me trying to get into a better elected position. It's about the party's image and that going forward, and how the party lasts another 50 years and is even more successful. That's what this has to be about. And we as a party need to make sure that we're not just reacting or responding to headlines, but we're actually creating that in the media, and that's something which we haven't done yet to date. We're not leading the way in the way that Reform are able to talk about migration and be able to bring the Overton window across. We need to be able to do the same, and so we have to be leaders in the media and talk about things we want to talk about.
And obviously, you're in an elected position already. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I recall when Carla Denyer announced that she wouldn't be standing for re-election, that one of the reasons that she cited was the fact that she wanted to focus more on her constituents. So how will you balance being an elected councillor and also being the deputy leader of the party? How will you make time for both of those roles and do so in a way that doesn't sort of prevent your ability to carry out the other role?
I think I'm in a really good position to be deputy leader of the party. I'm an elected councillor here in North East Derbyshire, but I'm the only Green councillor on my council, so I'm very much in opposition.
You're not alone.
I represent the people of Wingworth, of my home, and I'm able to do that at full council every month, and to be able to I'm the vice chair of the Environmental Scrutiny Committee, and to hold the council to account on its record on our local environment and climate change. But that's quite a small role. I'm not leading a council. I'm not trying to become a member of parliament. I've not got a huge campaign going on. I am just one councillor, right? And so I think I have the time to be able to devote myself fully to being deputy leader of the party. To stand for this election, I've had to quit my job. So I was working as campaign manager for the Green Party. In order to stand in this election, I can't be employed by the party. So I've made the choice to leave my job to stand for this election because I believe in it so much, because I know that the party needs to make the most of this opportunity, and because I'm prepared to fully devote myself to the role if elected.
I mean, that's a big risk to take, isn't it? Quitting a job so that you can stand. I mean, I don't know whether the party have said you'll have a job to come back to if you weren't to win the election. But how do you make a decision like that to say, actually, I'm gonna sacrifice a paid position in order to stand for a campaign that you might not win?
Yeah, it's a massive decision to make, a huge choice, and one that I don't take lightly. But ultimately, for me, I'm doing everything I can at the moment to try and advance the success of this party, our political aims, and I've been doing this for the last few years. I've been putting this party above, personal success, right? Going out there and trying to, make loads of money, and it's not really what the world's about for me. I want the society to become fairer, and I know that I need to make sacrifices in order to do that. And if I don't do it, who else will? And so I often feel left, feeling like there isn't much hope in the world, and we have to go out and create that. So it's not a decision I took lightly, but it's something that I'm fully prepared to do because I'm committed to this.
And if you are successful and you are elected, with Zach Polansky standing on his own and Ellie and Adrian running on a joint ticket, it's currently unclear whether there will be 2 deputy leaders or just one, due to technicalities with the way that the Green Party policy works on having 3 people in leadership positions, etc. So if you are elected and we end up in a position where we have one leader on his own in Zach, which means that we need 2 deputy leaders, how will you ensure that you and your counterpart are able to work together despite any differences in opinion or aims that you may have?
That's a great question. And ultimately, the party has elected us. And so I respect the membership. I respect that we make our policy 1 member, 1 vote. And I respect that we elect our leadership as membership in a way that other political parties don't do. And
good point. Yeah.
That is a choice which I will completely respect and get on with. And whether it's Zach elected or whether it's Ellie and Adrian that are elected, whether it's me as a sole deputy leader or whether it's me with another deputy leader, I will get on and I will do the job because that's what you've elected me to do. And I will stand by my commitments, my promises, my aims, my principles in that role and do the things that I believe are right and that the members have elected me for and to do in a way that I hope is collaborative with the rest of the team. I want to be able to listen to the ideas and to respect the others who have also been elected on the same mandate and find a way that we work together because we can all stand here now and tear each other to pieces in a leadership election. And I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, come September, we're all in the same party. We're all standing on the same ballot. We're all people that want the same things, and we've got to find a way forward. So for me, this whole thing has to be about coming together for the greater good.
Round of applause for John the Breezer.
Leo has asked on TikTok, in an age where online communication is so integral, what is your aim for social media campaigns and how will you achieve this?
Yeah, social media is so important. It's increasingly important. And I want to be able to take my learning to the party and to try and help the party to grow its own platforms. But also, I've been navigating my way through the media, through social media, without any formal training ever. Right? I'm completely making this up on the fly. It seems to be working, which is great. But I'm also
you're not making it up. You're repeating views and opinions that you've held for a long time and that you've understood well. I hope.
But that's the thing, right? I think having your opinion is one thing, but being able to deliver it in a way that people engage with is a totally other thing, right? And anyone can record a video about what they think, and it can just right and. But getting a video to be viral, getting a video to be engaged with, getting a video that people can connect with and want to share, it's a completely different thing. And understanding that algorithm, understanding what makes people tick, what makes people work is like, it's a massive trial and error. And I've kind of gone through that with the mayoral campaign and feel that actually I understand social media a little bit more now.
That's good.
And so I'm really looking forward to being able to work with the party. I'm really looking forward to going out on local action days, going and visiting people around the country, being able to put together good bits of content together, and helping everyone to learn in the party. So I think this is so important.
So what on that then? What do you think the key is to good social media content for a political party?
I think far too honest. I think far too often we are too polished. And sometimes as a party, we can forget to have a human element. And so people often say to me, oh, how can I, get better at social media? What can I post? And this and that. And, you can repost some graphics and some memes and all that sort of stuff, but it's only going to get you so far. And what you really need, and this is what we as a party need to do, is to have candidates and campaigners who are really engaging, really exciting, know what they're talking about, have the skills, the tools necessary to be able to engage with audiences. And so what I say to people is, unless you've got someone who really cares about putting themselves on camera, on making their own social media work, that's kind of the problem, and that's what we've got to break through in. So as deputy leader, I want to make sure that we've got a pool of candidates across the country, people who represent their communities, a real diversity of people who can stand up and they know how to speak the language of their communities, they know how to cut through, they have those tools. And so that's just what I've tried to do, is just to speak from the heart, be authentic, be honest, and to do that in a way which allows people to talk about things in a way they normally wouldn't on social media.
There's lots of rumours flying around at the moment about the creation of a new left-wing party, potentially to be led by Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. Polling recently suggests that not only is there a lot of support for this, but that the Greens could take quite a hit if this party comes into fruition. How do you think the Green Party should navigate this? Would you be open to electoral pacts and sort of working together formally, or would you see a new party on the left as a threat that needs to be stamped out?
I think that we always realise on the left, I think we as the Greens realise that working together is the best way to achieve our aims, and that we're stronger when we're united. I think we all share those beliefs and values. I think this party, though, doesn't yet exist. We don't know what its policy aims are yet. We don't know the way it's going to be structured or led. It seems to have got off to a bit of a rocky start. And all those unknowns to one side, the one thing I do know is that I'm a member of the biggest left-wing political party in the country at the moment. A political party with over 850 councillors, a party with 4 members of parliament, and we need to do as a party, regardless of whether Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's party exists, is to continue getting Greens elected. And we have to continue building and being a strong force. And if and when this party does appear, we need to be in the strongest position to be able to work with them.
Yeah, what do you think it says about the Green Party that I think on last count I'd heard that almost as many as 100,000 people had signed up to an action network that had been put up by Zara Sultana to say that they would help and support a new party. What do you think it says about?
Give me a minute while I deal with my ankles. Chat away, everyone. Oh, stupid ankle. How's he, John? Good. I quite like him. And I'll say again, I'm not going to be voting. I can't. I'm not part of the Green Party for England and Wales. Obviously, Scotch Green. So we done our one earlier because Holyrood is coming. I'm keeping a close eye on Nigel. Come up, Nigel. I want to talk to you. Don't worry, I won't milkshake him. That's a waste. I'm not. I don't know who Ed Poole is, John. Educate this clueless Gen Xer. Oh, fuck me. And while you're at it, direct me to somewhere I can get a better ankle. Mine's begubbed. fucker. Right, that feels a bit better. Let's do all this left one. Oh, that is tense as fuck. I can listen and deal with my left. 1, 2, 3. Oh. He's on a 12 until finally breaks through and transform. Oh, right. I will check him out. Thank you, John. All right. Turn Left are doing quite well. There's loads of us subscribed, obviously, or we've joined, we're members. Obviously, you know that.
The Greens, that there are so many people on the left who clearly don't see the Green Party as that viable alternative.
Yeah, I think this is really where we're missing a trick, and that there is so much more that can be done and so much more outreach that we as a party need to do. And so the reason that I'm standing for deputy leader is to be able to make us be, better in the media, to make us electorally stronger, to make sure that we are known on our socials, right? To be able to get out and have that outreach in a way that we haven't been able to do before. I want us to be a party that Zara Sultana thinks she could join, rather than a party that she thinks she needs to set up her own separate entity from. And I think that this is something that we have to really be, is to be a broad church of eco-socialists, of left-wing people who want to see a fairer Britain.
Thank you very
and
much.
nobody was excluded from that.
Do you think that involves changing what the party is already, or is it about highlighting the areas in which the party is already offering those things?
I think that the party's policy, broadly and largely, represents pretty much what I see as left-wing ideals, and that those just aren't shouted about enough. And it comes back to that image problem, right? People just seeing us as loving old trees. And that's the thing that we've got to sort of get past, is that climate change is so important, that the nature and biodiversity crisis is of complete urgency, and we've got to tackle that. But the only way we tackle that is by restructuring our system, by taking on this libertarian capitalist society which has just completely allowed profit to come before people and planet. And we have to do something about that. And we have to get people and planet. And so I think it's talking more and more about that and getting people to understand that actually this is a home for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Back in April, current co-leader Adrian Ramsey, who's also standing for re-election this time with Ellie Chowns, he took to Twitter to say that, like the BNP and UKIP, Reform UK, will disappear once voters realise what they really stand for. Do you agree with him?
I don't think that Reform will disappear on their own. I know that in the last month they've lost 10,000 members. Obviously, of their 5 original members of Parliament, they only have 3 left. They are a very, very hollow populist movement. And I think that, well, really, until the local elections happened in the county, there were no Reform voters, really, because all of those voters were coming from elsewhere. Everyone else was previously a non-voter or a Labour voter or a Conservative voter.
Hello, comrades. Or should I be more specific? Hello, my English and Welsh comrades. I think it's my English in here. Hello, my English comrades. Have your council elections already happened earlier this year, or are yours next year? You don't need to say where they are, unless you want to, of course. Do not dox yourself, obviously. Just curious, and who might be running to get into those councils. I thought we were having our council elections next year, but I might be wrong. I'll need to go and check at some point over the next couple of days to see if we've got our council elections next year as well. So I've got a Bailey, He's called Colin Campbell. He is amazing. He is SNP. And he was one of the ones that helped me through when I was going through my PIP review. Seriously, the man is a legend to me. Gave me so much help and resources about how to go about getting the decision overturned, like taking it to tribunal. Thank you, Colin.
This is a very, very new party. And so what I'm saying when I say that is that there are a lot of votes that are still up for grabs, and people are voting for reform because they're new, because they're shiny, because Nigel Farage is the most popular politician currently. He's the only well-known politician. We've lost a lot of the big names out of politics.
He's and so I think that
he's sat on top of a very, very hollow voter base of people that just want something different. They're desperate for an alternative. And we as the Greens are in the best position to bring that down and to pull the mask down and to show that actually Nigel Farage isn't standing up for working people. He's there for his own self-interest. And but just to say, we have a duty to do that and responsibility. We can't wait for the House of Cards to crumble by itself.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you've mentioned there about reforms appeal to non-voters. You know, in the How to Win Elections handbook that the Green Party use, there's a sentence in there about essentially not bothering with non-voters because it's much easier to convert someone who votes for another party to convince them to vote for yours than it is to convince someone that has never voted to get out and vote. But reforms seem to be proving that actually, certainly in recent elections, people that haven't bothered to turn out to vote are actually now turning out to vote for them. So do you think that there needs to be change of strategy from within the Green Party in terms of how we approach people that historically haven't voted?
Yeah, I think this is where we need to make the change nationally to complement Target to Win, because Target to Win, I mean, you're going to go and knock the doors of everyone that voted in the election. That's going to take you a long, long time. If you're going to do that of everybody, including non-voters, in fact, for most people where we've already got councillors elected, asking them to do that is an impossible ask. They don't have the volunteers, the resource, the time. People have jobs and commitments outside of the Green Party. I feel that's unreasonable to ask people. What I think is reasonable is to ask me as your deputy leader, ask the leadership team to go out there, do cutting-edge comms, to push the party to the next level, and to be able to help us contact non-voters through TV, through radio, through a great air campaign, and that can help to get voters out in the same way that Nigel Farage is doing. Let us help you win elections.
Mm-hmm. And just one last question. This is from TikTok. This is Holly Boop on TikTok, who's actually said that they're not a member of the Green Party, but they do have a question that they'd like to put to you. What would you do to protect disabled people, and how will you aim to campaign to improve public transport so that it's more accessible for people with disabilities, especially wheelchair users?
Really, really important question. And a question which I find is increasingly being asked, I think particularly given the Labour government's recent attempts at reforming PIP, that we need to make sure that we are a strong party that is standing up for everyone. And I think that I have a real responsibility to talk about these issues. But the thing that I keep coming back to is that we need to make sure that we've got campaigners and councillors across the country, people who are going to be MPs at the next general election, that are from a real diversity of backgrounds and that can talk about their personal experience. And that matters so much, because when people see us as a party talking about things, that's great. But what people need to see is people like them in politics. And I think that we have a real responsibility. It's something tangible that we can do as a party, is to make sure that we're reaching out to communities and that we're supporting campaigners into those roles and making sure that everyone can have a voice. Now, when I was standing for East Midlands Mayor, I made sure that we campaigned on franchising the buses, bringing them back into public control.
Travel.
I would want to see those buses capped here at £2 in East Midlands, which are not currently. I think that across the country we need to have affordable public transport, that we need to be making sure we're investing in our buses, that when housing estates get built, they don't get dumped there without a new bus stop. All of those things we need to be campaigning for. Better public transport, make sure people can get around. Mm-hmm. I live in a very, very rural part of the world, and my dad has multiple sclerosis. He lives on a rural lane with a bus stop which is completely inaccessible to him, It's dangerous to walk to. County council seem to have no interest in doing anything about that. And this is why we as a party have to keep pushing, not just because of me and my personal experience with my family, but because there are people across the country that rely on these services. And far too often I found when I'm in the council chamber, I talk about public transport, the other councillors laugh and they say, oh, we just need our cars, we rely on cars to get around. There are people who cannot use cars because they're underage, because they have a disability, for whatever reason it might be. And it is vital that we protect services for people. And that is massive, not just for protecting the climate, not just making things more affordable. There are people that literally cannot participate in society equally, and that cannot continue.
Thank you for that, Frank. Brilliant. So we are going to have to call it there just because of time. If people are watching this and they want to hear more about your campaign and you know, your aims as potential deputy leader of the party, where do people go? How do they find you?
They go to Rank Frank first, or they find me on social media on all social media platforms. I'm at Frank Adlington S. You can get in touch with me directly, and I'll be very happy to chat.
Wonderful. Well, Frank, thank you ever so much for giving up your time to Turn Left today. We really appreciate it. And yeah, break a leg with the campaign.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
How long's it? Oh God, it's over 40. Going to have to be a short one. I'll read you all into. Let me come out. I will read you all into Raptor. Let's do some mini cloud chasing. I will do the rest tomorrow night. I will start off with Annie Townsend tomorrow and work my way through everyone else. Yay, Raptors. Raptor's only been going for an hour. I think he is playing Phasmophobia. Is she? Good to know, John. Thank you. Twitch. Oh God, I thought this might happen. Yeah, fine. Raptor is awesome. Where are you? Lovely Raptor.
Alright, Secret Labs doesn't break like... This game is broke. You know what? It might be my fault. I will fully admit it might be me and crowd control's fault. Because crowd control is notoriously difficult. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted you to enjoy crowd control, but I guess that's not happening. So instead, we get to play Secret Labs.
Game is called You're a Loser.
Win! Hey, yeah, I'm the king of the losers. Don't you understand? It's a fate that I... What the fuck? It's a fate that I very much deserve. Plus, Secret Labs gets real fun when it's a lot of people. Because then we have 3 SCPs running around. We're fucking... No, we're trying to escape. Mad Cat, welcome in!